3 weeks of romance with an android lover. Will it last?
Hello, and welcome back to our channel. The German movie I'm Your Man is a subtle blend of science fiction and romance released in 2021. Today we'll be reviewing and recapping the events of this fantastic movie.
Dr. Alma arrives at a club full of people dancing to a swing band. She seems uncomfortable as an employee to a dashing man who introduces himself as Tom. He is charming, almost too lovely, as he orders them wine. She begins asking him strange, difficult questions like complicated maths problems, which he answers perfectly. He offers to dance, and she cautiously accepts the offer. He dances graciously while he looks on before repeating himself as though he is glitching. We learn he is a romance robot and that Alma is one of 10 people testing this brand new model over the next 3 weeks. Alma complains to the dean of her university, Roger, the next day about the robotic responses of Tom. Still, he says to her that this is a valuable part of the testing process before the robots are rolled out across Germany. Julian, a colleague of Alma, stops her after she meets with the dean and asks her for coffee, but she coldly refuses.
We start to understand why she's single and why she was selected for this robotic romance.
She drops groceries off with her father, who is in the early stages of dementia and seems as short and disagreeable as she is. She cares for him, feeding him and taking him for a walk, and we see a more open side to her. At the ballroom, Alma interacts with other partygoers and realizes they are all holograms. Being alone in the room helps her cut loose a little more, and she dances and smiles. She agrees to take Tom home with her. As they drive home, he makes an overly complicated suggestion about adjusting her seat to reduce the chance of an accident. She doesn't say anything, so Tom speaks again, saying the more things he says wrong to her, the better his algorithm will get and the less he will make a mistake. She shows him around her apartment and to his bedroom. He seems surprised they won't be sharing, but he takes it in stride. She wakes up the following day to find that Tom hasn't only made her a big, delicious breakfast with pancakes, but has also perfectly rearranged her books to make life easier for her. She reacts with surprise, so he offers to return everything to its original place. She tells him she will eat at the university and that he must stop the romance since this is only a purely test for her. She isn't looking for love at all, and the less he tries to please her, the happier she will be. As she leaves for work, Tom suggests he will clean up again, so Alma decides to take him to a coffee shop for the day to save him from rearranging her apartment again. He does his very best to act as human as possible, ordering coffee and chatting with humans at the coffee bar. Alma arrives late to retrieve Tom, finding him standing alone in the rain outside a closed coffee shop, but in a perfect mood. When they come home, she gives him a set of keys so he doesn't have to wait in the rain next time. She works on her studies, and slow lounge music plays. Going to the bathroom, she finds he has gone to the effort to light candles, scatter the floor with rose petals, and run her a bubble bath. She reacts with her standard disapproval and tells him not to worry. Getting it wrong is all part of being human. Tom takes the candlelit bath himself as he sips the champagne and eats the strawberries he prepared for Alma while she smokes alone on the balcony. Alma comes out of the shower the following day to find Julian has come to visit. Tom has made him coffee and spins a lie about how they met at an anthropology conference in Copenhagen. Julian has come to collect a print from Alma, but he's anxious it won't fit in his car. Tom assesses the dimensions of the painting, calculating it will fit perfectly into his vehicle, and goes to get dressed so he can help. Alma finally decides to take Tom to work and gives him the ground rules to keep her embarrassment and awkwardness to a minimum. He makes a fantastic account of himself to her colleagues as his robot brain pieces Alma's detailed studies of ancient languages together. One of her colleagues tells him they are studying poetry in ancient cultures. Something catches his eye and he quickly takes Alma outside to tell her that he has discovered a study from Buenos Aires that has already published her team's findings. She is furious that someone else has published the work she has been slaving over for years and beaten her team to the punch. Later, Tom supervises Alma as she drowns her sorrows in a pub and takes her home. The alcohol loosens her lips and she asks more pointed, inappropriate questions. She throws a glass of wine in his face and tries to get him to lose his temper. Then, before she knows it, she's kissed him. She demands that he come to bed with her, but Tom senses that she's far too drunk to make an informed, sensible decision, so he is the bigger man and turns her down.
Alma wakes up hungover the following morning, only to find that Tom isn't at home. An employee from his manufacturer knocks at the door just in time for Tom to return with donuts. This guy was completely prepared for her hangover. What a man.
The employee sits down to assess how the two have enjoyed their time together. This assessment becomes a couples counseling session as Alma's aggressive side and unwillingness to accept Tom is exposed. After being grilled by the employee, Alma realizes that she too is a robot. She demands this couples counseling android leave her apartment and apologize to Tom for her drunken behavior the night before. She takes him to her father's home, which causes a headache for her sister Cora. It's her dad's 81st birthday and the four of them sit around having a good time as Tom makes a great impression. Alma's family used to go on holiday to Kongsmart in Denmark. Tom chips in, saying he did as well, and Cora just happens to have a photo of a young boy they met there and both fell in love with. They both laugh, convinced this young boy is Tom. They go for a walk, and laying down on the grass, Alma asks Tom to tell her what their imaginary meeting in Copenhagen was like. He gives her a charming tale as he recounts the dull conference they were stuck at and how they both took a day off to visit Kongsmark, like when they were young. After a while, she falls asleep, waking up to find he's gone. She wanders into the forest to find him surrounded by a deer, who crowd around him undisturbed by his presence before running off when they notice her. This beautiful image loosens Alma up so much that he even manages to make her take her shoes off and run barefoot through the meadow with him. Later, she brings Tom to Julian's housewarming party. He fits in perfectly and even does a fantastic job of catching Julian's wife when she faints and quickly wakes her up with a cold towel. They meet Dean Roger at the party, who begins inspecting Tom as if he were an object. Alma tells him to stop and that he wouldn't ever treat a human being like that. She's really starting to warm up to this robot dreamboat now.
Alma takes Julian aside and asks him if Steffi is pregnant. The fainting earlier definitely got her suspicions up. This is an awkward moment between the two of them, and though nothing has been said out loud so far, we sense there was once a romance between these two colleagues.
When they get home, Alma seems quiet. She shows Tom a photo of an ultrasound of hers. Tom figures out that she was pregnant and lost a chi. Perhaps it was with Julian. Using his supercomputer, Tom unpacks how this has affected her attitude, how she fears she will end up alone. Tom says he doesn't mind any of this and that it being part of her is why he loves her. She runs out of the apartment with tears as Tom takes off after her. She hides and follows him as he walks the streets trying to find her. He goes past the coffee shop and the pub they visited, and she eventually follows him to the museum where he stands among the ancient exhibits. She kisses him passionately, not under the influence of alcohol. They make love at her apartment, and the next morning it's her turn to prepare a wonderful breakfast as Tom snores in bed. However, when he wakes up, she is having doubts again. She can't handle treating him like a human, tiptoeing out of the room while he sleeps and preparing a perfect boiled egg for him even though he isn't real and none of it matters. She says she's ending the experiment early and that he has to leave. He is upset, but he agrees and packs his things, giving Alma back her keys. She gives him a tearful embrace and he leaves with his roller suitcase. She watches from the balcony as he stops by the bins outside and she rushes up to meet him, but going back to the balcony she sees he's gone. Driving through the streets, she tries to look for him and sees two men arguing in traffic. This is never something Tom would do. She arrives at the woods where her father lives and finds him walking through the forest with a head wound, confused and saying he's looking for the television remote. It turns out he's been attacked and his house has been robbed, though they found nothing of value to steal. Alma goes to work the next day to take a lecture. She goes to the pub. She carries on about her life. She's as alone as she was before, but now it leaves her empty. She's stopped by a couple in the streets. He introduces himself as Dr. Stuber and her as Chloe. He recognizes her from the club where they were introduced to their romance models. Chloe is his, and things couldn't be better. He's over the moon with her.
She's kind, loving, and generous. Basically, everything that Tom was and Alma couldn't accept.
Alma records her testimonial about her experience with Tom, and it's one of regret. She has only positive things to say about her experience, but she's conflicted about how easy it is to have all your romantic desires solved so easily and perfectly. For this reason, she doesn't recommend androids as human partners. The counseling robot knocks at her door to have another session with Tom. Alma is confused. This means he must be out in the world somewhere, right? She has a feeling where he might be though, so she hops on a ferry and travels to Denmark, finding the old ping pong table where the photo of her and Tom was taken, and sure enough, he's there, waiting for her. She joins him without speaking. He's in a good mood as always and says he was planning on waiting until she arrived. She begins to tell a story about the little boy Thomas who was there when she was young. She spent the holiday waiting for a kiss from him, but it never came.
I'm Your Man is a spellbinding romance, unsentimental and realistic. It deals with the raw reality of love and the problems of being given a perfect partner who will never upset you and never leave you. The leading pair, Maria Schrader and Dan Stevens, have fantastic chemistry. And the English Stevens is even more impressive as he plays the entire movie flawlessly in German. The performances are subtle and their interactions are genuine and believable. And though he plays a robot, this film isn't really science fiction. It's much more a gentle look at romance later in life. It's a sweet, slow-moving film, so it's no surprise that this was Germany's submission for Best Foreign Film category at the 2021 Academy Awards. Please subscribe to our channel to be notified when we upload. And don't forget to suggest movies that you want us to recap in the future in the comments down below. We'll see you soon.